Hey, welcome to FISM News. I'm Samuel Case, and tonight we recap Donald Trump's interview with Elon Musk. New polling shows Kamala Harris leading on the economy, and Trump announces new plans to sue the DOJ over the raid on Mar-a-Lago. But before we get into all those stories, I would like to introduce FISM's Ian Patrick, who is still filling in for Renata Kiss. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you so much, Sam. Always a pleasure to be doing the news with you. And I have to say, I'm very interested to hear about the Trump interview. I heard it was even delayed for quite a while for what I heard was, I think, a DOS reason. Am I right in saying that?
Oh, you're 100% right. It was a fascinating interview. We'll get to it right now. You are right about that cyber attack. Elon Musk did interview Donald Trump on X last night, despite those technical difficulties, receiving nearly 1 billion views as of this morning. As Ian just mentioned, it did start 30 minutes late due to what Musk described as a massive cyber attack on the social media platform servers. But once it finally got going, Musk did kick off the conversation by asking Trump about last month's assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. Here's some of that conversation.
I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
Yeah.
And because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter. For those people that don't believe in God, I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, I'm a believer. Now I'm more of a believer, I think.
What I found admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there.
The interview lasted more than 2 hours and covered a broad range of topics, including the economy, the swap out of Joe Biden for Kamala Harris, and of course, immigration, an issue which Musk believes is an existential threat to the country.
I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past, 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't have a country left. Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world.
And America is only, about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the US.
We're already overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed.
Trump slammed Kamala Harris's record as President Biden's border czar, while also criticizing her campaign for failing to answer any questions about her policies. Trump described Harris as a radical left San Francisco liberal who would destroy the country if elected. Musk seemed to agree with that analysis, saying that America is at a crossroads with this election.
America is kind of at a fork in the road, and
true.
And I think it will take the path to, like, you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
The Harris campaign released a statement responding to the interview, describing Musk as a lackey for Team MAGA. The statement also said that Musk is using his platform to, quote, spread Trump's unhinged and hateful agenda, echoing comments from the EU, which earlier in the day threatened to punish Musk and X, if he didn't censor harmful content on the social media platform.
And shortly before making his appearance with Elon Musk, Trump actually posted to his X account for the first time in almost a year. In a slew of posts, hours before the interview aired, Trump uploaded multiple videos showcasing advertisements for his presidential campaign. The ads varied from positive messages about Trump as a person to attacks on his Democrat opponent. And here's just a select few of them.
The test of a man is how much he will bear for a cause which he knows to be right. How long will he stand in the depths of despair? How much will he suffer and fight?
Keep standing up always for your values. keep loving your country. And one of the most important things, never, ever quit.
Somebody has to help this country, and if they don't, the country and the world are in big trouble. Because within a short period of time, as sure as we're sitting here, there's not going to be a country and there's not going to be a world. I have no intention of running for president. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally.
Trump also posted a message amidst the slew of ads, which asked readers if they are, quote, better off now than when I was president. And this is particularly notable because the last X message posted by Trump was back in August of 2023 when he posted a photo of his Georgia mugshot. Before then, he had not posted anything on the platform following his account suspension all the way back in January of 2021 when it was still Twitter.
And you know, Ian, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Elon Musk's first act once he bought Twitter was restoring Donald Trump's account, but he hasn't really taken advantage of that until right now. So it's pretty fascinating to see what he's going to do on that site. Elsewhere, FBI officials have now confirmed earlier this week that they are investigating a hack of a website and communications of former President Donald Trump's campaign. On Saturday, campaign officials were informed by Microsoft that one of their websites was hacked by Iranian operatives. Meanwhile, back in June, FBI agents also began investigating a separate attack by Iranian hackers as well. According to officials, the hackers sent phishing attacks to both the Donald Trump and Biden-Harris campaigns, and former Trump advisor Roger Stone was one of the victims of those attacks. In addition, journalists were reportedly sent secure Trump campaign documents from anonymous senders about the vetting of vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance. Although officials do suspect Iran is the one responsible for the phishing attacks themselves, it's still unclear at this time who sent the confidential files to those reporters.
But it does seem like disruptions to Trump's presidential campaign aren't limited to online hacking only, as authorities in Virginia are searching for a man who's accused of burglarizing a local Trump campaign headquarters. According to the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, a man wearing dark clothing, a cap, and a backpack was seen entering an office leased by the presidential campaign for former President Trump. The office is also reportedly the headquarters of the Virginia 10th District Republican Committee. The break-in reportedly occurred at around 9 p.m. on Sunday. In a statement, Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman said, quote, "It is rare to have the office of any political campaign or party broken into. We are determined to identify the suspect, investigate why it happened, and determine what may have been taken as well as what may have been left behind." Authorities have not yet commented on what, if anything, was actually vandalized or stolen from the office, and the sheriff's office has even also requested assistance from members of the public in identifying a suspect.
And it looks like it's not just vandals that Trump has to worry about, as a brand new poll should have the Trump campaign sounding the alarm bells. New polling from the Financial Times and the University of Michigan now shows for the first time ever, Kamala Harris is now leading Trump on the issue of the economy. According to that poll, 42% of voters say they trust Harris more with the economy, compared to 41% who said the same about Trump. It's a major boost for Democrats, as just 35% of voters trusted Biden with the economy just before dropping out of the race. It comes as Harris has been making the economy a central part of her campaign, largely pushing many of Biden's policies targeting price gouging and other cost increases.
When I am president, it will be a day one priority to fight to bring down prices. I will take on big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging. I will take on corporate landlords that unfairly raise rents on working families. I will take on big pharma and cap the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans. Continue to bring manufacturing jobs back to America.
But there's still some hope for the Trump campaign. 22% of voters still believe Trump's policies will leave them much better off financially, compared to just 12% who said the same for Harris. Voters also believe Trump will do a better job handling trade issues with China.
And while we're in some economic news, let's go to new government reports, which show that the U.S. budget deficit apparently soared to $1.5 trillion in the month of July. The federal data also shows a 10% year-over-year increase for the same month, which is driven by interest payments on the nation's record debt, which, in case you forgot, has recently topped $35 trillion. And those payments will continue to rise as long as the Federal Reserve keeps their elevated rates. So far, the U.S. has spent $763 billion on interest payments this year, which currently exceeds current defense spending. And coming up next, Ilhan Omar is the next so-called squad member on the chopping block in today's primary election. The details on that and more after this.
Fear and uncertainty can cause us to hold things tightly and rely on ourselves. But during uncertain times, as believers in Christ, we are called to surrender fully to our sovereign God. The call to surrender to Jesus is one step in our growth in holiness. And it doesn't just mean you give over a few things. It means He gets it all, including our finances, our investments. Learn a biblically responsible investment strategy proven over 25 years. Keep the money God has entrusted to you out of companies that participate in things that God detests. Fully surrender. Become a Financial Issues Partner today. Learn more by going to financialissues.org/join. That's financialissues.org/join.
Saving the unborn is one of the most amazing things that we can do in this day and age. Hi, my name is Shanna Burt, host of Financial Issues. Would you go to preborn.org right now? Consider giving $140. That will allow 5 young mothers to hear the heartbeat of their baby and change their mind to choose life over abortion. Go to preborn.org. That's preborn.org. It's an incredible ministry, Preborn. We're fighting back through saving tens of thousands of lives. And Preborn doesn't just save the baby. They ask these young mothers to go through a program of evangelism so that their eternal lives might be saved as well. Would you come alongside us for the kingdom, for the glory of Christ? Go to preborn.org. That's preborn.org.
Hey there, and welcome back to FISM News. I'm Samuel Case. We'll continue this segment with some more political news, where Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar is now the latest member of the so-called Progressive Squad to be on the chopping block this election cycle. She's now defending her seat in today's primary from former Minneapolis City Council member Don Samuel. Samuel previously lost to Omar by just 2 points back in 2022. All eyes are on tonight's race after 2 of Omar's fellow squad members lost to their challengers this year, largely because of their harsh stances against Israel, of which Omar is also a major critic. Those would be New York Representative Jamal Bowman and Missouri Representative Cori Bush, although Omar does go into the election today with an advantage, raising millions more than her opponent and also holding a significant lead in the polls.
And speaking of Israel and its war with Gaza, or in Gaza, I should say, let's turn to some updates on the Israeli hostage situation, which currently overshadows the entire conflict. On Monday, the spokesperson for Hamas's armed Al-Qassam brigades stated that 1 Israeli hostage was recently killed, while another 2 were seriously wounded. The spokesperson, Abu Ubaida, said the deceased hostage was killed by his own guard, marking the first admission of hostages being killed by Hamas's own hand. The 2 wounded hostages, both of whom are female, were reportedly injured from an unrelated incident. But Ubaida blamed the tragedies on Israel, saying it was their, quote, massacres which had affected the lives of the hostages. He added that Hamas has formed a committee to investigate the matter and will report later with its findings. But the Israeli army responded to the news as well, saying they have not been able to separately confirm nor refute any of those statements. And Israel has also decided to investigate the matter.
At the same time, Iran remains looming large over the situation as the White House is now sounding the alarm that this week could see another Iranian attack on Israel. Iran has threatened to retaliate after the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Washington shares Israeli concerns that the attack is highly likely and, according to National Security spokesman John Kirby, could happen very soon.
With respect to potential timing here, could be this week. We're continuing to watch it very, very closely, but we have to be prepared for what could be a significant set of attacks.
U.S. intelligence officials who spoke to Axios suggested that Iran might strike before the ceasefire negotiations scheduled on Thursday, though Hamas says they will not be participating in those talks. Lebanon's Hezbollah has also vowed to respond to an Israeli airstrike in Beirut that killed their top military advisor back in July.
Elsewhere in the Middle East, the Islamic State is claiming responsibility for a Sunday terror attack in Kabul, Afghanistan, which has killed at least one person. The terrorist group said yesterday that it detonated an explosive device that targeted members of the Shiite minority community. A Kabul police spokesman confirmed that a bomb did explode in the western part of the city, which did, as I said, kill one civilian and wound 11 others. And it's the latest attack, but the Taliban downplays the threat that specifically ISIS-K poses both within and outside of Afghanistan. That terrorist group has killed over 100 people at a Moscow concert earlier this year, and more recently, a 19-year-old Austrian man who was accused of plotting mass murder at a Taylor Swift concert was reportedly found to have ISIS-K material in his home. In response to all these reports, a UN official said the organization is the, quote, greatest external terrorist threat to Europe.
And now let's get a quick update on what's going on in Ukraine, where Ukrainian forces in Russia have now seized over 380 square miles of territory and captured at least 28 settlements, according to Ukraine's top commander. It's now the first time a Ukrainian military official has publicly commented about the surprise incursion into Russia, which started just 1 week ago. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on social media yesterday that Russia's war was coming home, with Russian officials now reporting that over 100,000 civilians have already fled from the Kursk border region where the attack is taking place. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has already ordered his defense ministry to, quote, knock out the enemy from our territories.
And finally, let's shift over to Greece, where a wildfire near Athens is forcing thousands to evacuate. Yesterday's evacuations include not only residents and citizens, but patients and staff from both a children's hospital and a military hospital. 2 monasteries were also recently evacuated, and at least one person has unfortunately died from the blaze. Officials have called it a very dangerous fire and have even reported flames reaching over 80 feet in height for some instances. The blaze ignited back on Sunday about 20 miles northeast of the capital, but by Monday evening, it expanded to nearly 20 miles across and burned 21,000 acres. Since then, strong winds, extreme heat, and drought have fueled the fire's spread, and now firefighters are battling 40 individual hotspots instead of just one front, and we'll be looking into that more as it continues to develop. But coming up next, Donald Trump announces plans to sue the DOJ over the raid on his Mar-a-Lago estate. But first, let's go to a moment in history.
Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. Tonight, let's explore one of the most sinister events in the history of the ancient world. Now, this event was made even more sinister by the man who used it for his own political gain. In the year 64 AD, the city of Rome stood above civilization as the most powerful metropolis on Earth, the capital of the mightiest empire in the world. But on July 18, 64 AD, a fire broke out that could have very well destroyed the city. Instead, the empire in charge used it to remake the city and crack down on the growing Christian population in it. Let's explore the Great Fire of Rome and the man who benefited from it, the Emperor Nero. On July 18th, the blaze in Rome broke out in a poor section of the city near Palatine Hill. Homes in ancient Rome were mostly made of raw materials such as wood and straw that burned easily. This, combined with the high winds and the summer heat of July, caused the fire to spread quickly. The city of Rome was split into 14 districts at this time, and historians tell us that the fire damaged 11 of those 14 districts and completely destroyed 3 of those damaged. Obviously, many people were killed in the flames, and many more were injured. Now, historians have long since asked the question, what was the Emperor Nero's role in the fire? No one knows who started the fire, but legends have arisen claiming that it was Nero who started the fire, while others claim he sat idly by, intentionally ignoring the chaos while the city burned. We have no proof of this, but we do have very telling proof of Nero's wickedness from his response to the fire. Nero was a man who many historians believe was at least mentally unstable, if not insane, and he capitalized on the fire in 2 ways. One was aesthetic, and the other was religious. Aesthetically, he simply did not like the way the city looked before the fire and used it to rebuild the city exactly the way he wanted it. And religiously, he found a scapegoat for the flames in Christianity, which was at this time seen as a major threat to the Roman state. Nero blamed the Christians in Rome for starting the fire, resulting in the martyrdom of hundreds of believers during his reign. And in a historical irony, his most famous torture method was with fire, lighting Christians on fire and using them as human torches for his parties. Well, we know from history that the church long outlasted this wicked man. Christianity is the most popular religion in the world today, and the church has flourished in times of persecution, while the Emperor Nero has been dead since the year 68 AD. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.
Do you know what you are supporting when you purchase mutual funds and stocks? Think about it. When you invest in a company, you make a decision to support the things that that company supports. And it may not be things that you agree with. Financial Issues is a ministry teaching people like you how to invest biblically, responsibly, keeping your investments clear of companies that may support an ungodly agenda. Learn more by going to financialissues.org. Financialissues.org.
Emmy was in a bad relationship when she found out she was pregnant. Her boyfriend told her to get an abortion, which she seriously considered. Now, Emmy knew that if she got an abortion, a part of her would be broken. So Emmy went to a preborn center in need of guidance. They were able to put every fear at ease and let her know it was going to be okay. And because of preborn, Emmy's little boy is here. She couldn't imagine life without him. Preborn clinics introduce moms in crisis to their babies through ultrasound while providing hope, love, and the gospel in action. Would you join Preborn in helping more moms choose life? For $140, you can sponsor 5 ultrasounds and help rescue 5 babies from abortion. To donate, dial pound 250 and say keyword baby. That's pound 250 keyword baby, or donate securely at preborn.com. That's preborn.com.
And welcome back to FISM News. I'm Ian Patrick. Let's continue our coverage with another update from the political realm, where former President Donald Trump recently stated that he will sue the FBI over its 2022 raid on his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Daniel Epstein, who is representing Trump for this lawsuit, said the reason for the raid was nothing more than election interference for this year's presidential contest.
We have a word for that gets thrown around a lot, but in this case is very accurate and precise: election interference. And that's what President Trump believes the entire special counsel investigation was about: interfering with his ability to get elected.
The lawsuit seeks $100 million in damages from the DOJ for invasion of privacy, malicious prosecution, and abuse of process. It also comes shortly after Judge Eileen Cannon dismissed the entire classified documents case against Trump over the unconstitutional appointment of special counsel Jack Smith.
And elsewhere, Kamala Harris is now trying to reshape herself with a new ad campaign as a tough-on-immigration candidate that is despite criticism from border officials. Take a look.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The new ad will run in Arizona and Nevada and comes only a week after Trump released his own ad targeting Harris over the border, and also comes less than a month after being attacked by National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd.
Kamala Harris knows what she needs to do. I was there. I gave her all of the policies that she needed, all of them, and she refused to implement them. She does not care about you. She does not care about the safety of this country. He does.
Meanwhile, Harris is sending some mixed signals about what her policy will actually be about the border. On the one hand, telling voters she'll be tough on the border with that new ad, while also recently promising to support a mass amnesty plan for illegal immigrants.
Speaking of immigration, let's turn to the state of Massachusetts, which is apparently set to have a record number of deportations this year. A new report from Boston 25 revealed this week that Massachusetts could have as many as 59,000 deportation cases this fiscal year. The Department of Homeland Security continues to file new cases as Massachusetts officials have taken steps to make migrants leave the state. Despite labeling itself as a so-called sanctuary state, last month, Democrat Governor Maura Healey announced that the state is limiting stays at overflow shelters for migrants to only 5 days. Healey also announced that the state will pay for plane tickets and other travel expenses for migrants who want to leave the state. Healey cited costs as the main reason for all of these reforms, saying, quote, "We do not have room here in Massachusetts." And according to local outlets, state officials have spent as much as $75 million per month housing illegal immigrants in shelters.
And for a quick update in the culture war today, a family in D.C. is now suing the Washington Children's National Hospital this week for allegedly transitioning their 16-year-old autistic son without their parental consent. The family, who chose to remain anonymous in this case, alleged in the lawsuit that hospital officials put their son in foster care after his parents refused to denounce their Christian beliefs and use female pronouns for their son. The couple, both of them African-American Baptists, have reportedly not seen their son in 3 years now. The lawsuit alleges that Children's Hospital is responsible for violations of civil rights, parental rights, religious discrimination, and child trafficking.
Truly a crazy bit of information there. But while we are on the topic of gender debate, let's look once again to the Olympic Games and its controversial women's boxing league. If you didn't happen to catch the end of the boxing matches, apparently Algeria's Imane Khalif and Taiwan's Lin Yuting walked away with gold medals in their respective weight classes. But as we've covered here previously, both boxers were criticized for participating at the Olympic level after it was revealed that they each failed gender tests in a 2023 boxing competition. In fact, the International Boxing Association practically confirmed that these tests indicated that both competitors had DNA, which made them biologically male, but the IOC allowed them to continue competing. Algeria's Khalif has even filed a legal complaint in France against the entire case.
Truly a shocking story there, Ian, and I'm sure one we're going to continue to hear more about in future Olympics. But with that, that is our program for today. So thank you so much for joining us. And please visit our website, FISMnews.tv, for more content. You can also follow us on social media as well. Once again, I'm Samuel Case, and I'll see you tomorrow with more news coverage. See you then.